Hello everyone, am I audible? Thank you for your responses and sorry for the delay. A very good morning, Andrea. So, in today's session, what we will be doing is we will be revising whatever we have done in the last 6 days, in the 6 sessions, and then we will be proceeding towards the process prioritization, which is a very integral part of business requirement. So, starting with the revision, just give me a minute, please. Is my screen visible? Is it now? Okay, thank you. So, revising everything that we have done in the last 6 sessions, we will start with the basic definition of RPA. We will revise it very quickly. So, RPA is basically the robotic process automation, which helps in creating the software robots which automate any mundane or repetitive business process that is there in the organization. These mundane processes can be of basic inputting of data from one system application to another application, right? Automation Anywhere is one such platform of which provides robotic process automation. So, Automation Anywhere is a software which helps in creating the software robots which automate the business processes end to end. The advantages of using Automation Anywhere is it is very easy to use. It has drag and drop functionality. Even a non-technical person can use Automation Anywhere and create the software bot in order to automate the business process. We had gone through the digital workforce of Automation Anywhere. The digital workforce comprised of the RPA platform, the cognitive platform, the analytics platform, and the bot farm. As all of us know, that RPA platform forms the core or the base of the digital workforce. It is a very integral part of the digital workforce. The RPA platform that is there, it includes various recorders, the task editor, and the metadata. There are three types of recorders that are there. One is the screen recorder, the second one is the web recorder, and the third one is the smart recorder. The screen recorder that is there basically records all the steps or all the actions that are performed using the keyboard and the mouse. So whether you're moving the mouse pointer from one location to another or you are inserting a username or password in a given window, all these steps will be recorded. The second type of recorder is the web recorder. The web recorder works with the web-based application. By default, Automation Anywhere uses Internet Explorer browser that is there. And even if we want to work with Google Chrome, we can automate the process which requires the Google Chrome browser. Whenever we are using the web recorder, we can extract the data, we can input the data onto the websites, we can extract the tables directly, we can download the files, we can download the images, etc. The third recorder that we have is the smart recorder. The smart recorder, as the name suggests, is very smart in nature. It works on both on the websites and the desktop based applications like control panel or SAP or calculator, etc. Right? So basically, the recorders record all the steps or actions that are performed in the given business process. The next is the task editor. The task editor has 500 plus commands. These commands that are there are dedicated to the applications that are there. So we have a dedicated command for Excel. So if you are working with Excel spreadsheets, we have a dedicated command for it. If you are working with database, we have a dedicated command for database. If you are working with PDF, there is a command for PDF. In the similar way, if we want to work with mainframes, we have a command. If we want to work with XML files or web services, we can do that also. We can even automate the business process in Citrix environment using the task editor. We can also incorporate or consolidate all the three recorders into one task and create a software robot. And we can also integrate the recorders with the commands in the task editor and create the software robot from it to automate the business process. The third part of the RPA platform is the metabots. The metabots are the reusable component of RPA. In the metabot, what we do is we capture the screens along with the objects like the buttons, text boxes, combo boxes, check boxes, etc. And we can utilize these objects in order to automate the business process. There are two parts in the metabot. One is the asset part and the other one is the logic part. The asset part includes the screens and the objects that are captured from the application. And the logic part includes the action lists, which are basically the actions that are to be performed on the given application. So suppose if you want to press a button, then click is considered as an action. The other important features of Metabot are we can also add a DLL inside the Metabot and use application level programming to automate the process. For example, if you want to automate the process of SAP environment, that is the SAP environment, what we can do is we can integrate the SAP DLL inside the Metabot and create a logic for it, which gives the certain set of actions, which gives perform the certain set of actions that are defined by the developer. There is another important feature that is provided by Metabot. That is, the Metabot helps in calibrating, basically comparing the properties of the objects that are captured in the form of screens. So what happens basically is whenever we are automating a business process, we are working with the objects, right? So these objects have certain identities and properties which may be dynamic and which may be static. By dynamic means the properties keeps on changing after a certain interval, or even if you close the application and restart it, the properties might change. For a particular session, the property may remain the same, but once we restart this session, the property may change. Since we are creating a software robot which specifically works according to the business rules and conditions, it is compulsory to make it more static and robust. By static means the properties should remain constant. If the properties keep on changing, the software robot will start throwing the error that the properties are not matching according to what it was trained. So whenever we are training the software bot, we make sure that the properties are static. So with the help of the calibration feature in Metabot, before we start creating the logic for the software bot, we can check whether the properties are static or not. If they are not, we can remove those properties from the list. The other advantage of Metabot is it is convenient or very useful whenever we are doing offline automation. So if we take a scenario where we are doing a POC and there is a certain time duration in which the applications will be available, in that case what we can do is we can use the Metabot and capture the screens and the objects and work till we have the time for developing of the software bot. As soon as our time duration is over, what we can do is we can still automate the process, we can still create the logic because we have the screen for it and the objects on which we want to work. So this is how the Metabot helps in offline automation. It also helps in scalability. It is resilient, right? So these are certain features of Metabot which separates it from the basic task editor and the recorders. The second platform that we have is the cognitive platform. Since we are just revising what we have covered up in the last sessions, on your screen the Excel sheet will be visible so that you can confirm that we have covered these topics from the Excel sheet. So as we were revising about the cognitive platform, the cognitive platform can be also called as IQBot. The cognitive platform basically helps in extracting the data from PDFs and the images. It has predefined machine learning algorithms which help in classifying the documents based on the layouts and the content. It helps in extracting the data and digitizing it and storing it into a CSV file for further manipulation on the data. So the basic process that is there in the IQBot is we classify the documents based on the content and the layout. Once we have classified the documents according to the layout, we design the IQBot according to the fields that need to be extracted, according to the tables and the columns that need to be extracted. Then once we have designed the IQBot, we need to train it. We need to show the software bot or the IQBot that this is the field that you should extract, this is the table that you should extract, and this is where this data should be stored. After the training, what we do is once we have trained the IQBot, we need to test whether it is giving us the appropriate output or not, whether it is very accurate or not. So for that, we have IQ test, where we upload a certain set of test documents and check whether it is giving the accurate and optimal output or not. The last thing is we provide validation, where we check whether the output that it is giving is correct or not. The IQ bot can also extract the data by giving certain validations and defining certain exceptions. For an example, if we take an invoice, the invoice for all the companies is different. So the invoice may also consist of certain important data that we would like to extract. For example, I want to extract the invoice date. In some companies or in some invoices, my invoice date may be in the format of DDMMYY, and in some it may be MMYYDD. So I need to train the bot in such a way or give the validations in such a way that it extracts all the type of dates that are there in the invoices. So we need to define certain set of parameters which are to be checked while extracting the data, which helps in extracting all the data based on the conditions that we provide. The next platform that we had in the digital workforce is the Bot Insight or the analytics platform. The analytics platform is basically used for performing business analysis on the given set of data that is there. There are two types of analytics that are provided. One is the transactional analytics, and the other one is the operational analytics. The transactional analytics, as the name suggests, it identifies the data on which we want to perform the analytics on and creates the dashboard for it. While the operational analytics, what it does is it provides the dashboard that are created to the analytics consumers who would like to use the analysis that have been performed, right? With the help of the analytics platform, we can customize the dashboards, which includes the chart according to the data that has been registered for analytics. So first and foremost, as all of us know, that Automation Anywhere provides role-based access. So the analytics expert that is there in the analytics platform needs to tag the variables or the entities or the attributes or the data which is of importance for analysis. Once the variables have been tagged, we need to log them for analytics. By logging the data for analytics, it means that the data after the processing will be available for the analytics purpose. After the logging of the data, what we do is once we have the processed data for analytics, we publish the data for the other analytics consumer to be used. The bot analytics platform that is there, it can be centralized by integrating it with the web control room. The next component of the digital workforce is the bot farm. It can be considered as RPA as a service. Taking an example of peak period in which we need to execute the bots double time or 5 times. So what we do is we cannot always provide the hardware components or the hard physical machines of runtime clients. So in that case, what we can do is in peak scenario, we can upload the bots onto the web, onto the cloud, and execute the bots on the cloud and get the processed data or final output from the virtual machines. So, whatever processing that will happen in the peak time will be on the virtual machines in the cloud. The benefit of bot farm is it is on demand basis and it is pay as you use. So, whatever amount of hours you're using the virtual machines in the cloud, you need to pay according to the hours that is used. So basically, all of us know that RPA is the base of the digital workforce. We can incorporate the cognitive platform, the analytics platform, the bot farm inside the RPA platform. So we need to understand the depth of the RPA platform to understand the integrity of the cognitive analytics and the bot farm. Moving forward, we have understood the concept and the architecture of automation anywhere, and it's also gone through the product walkthrough. We had seen certain demonstrations using task editor, recorders, and the metabots. So we will quickly revise through these. So basically, the architecture that comprises of automation anywhere is the client server architecture, where the web control room acts as a server and the client automation anywhere client acts as a client in the client server architecture. The web control room that is there, it basically acts as a centralized server which can be connected through the website link. It acts as a central repository, a central scheduler on the runtime clients. It also acts as a centralized user management component. It provides various features like credential vault, in which we can store our valuable data. It also provides role based access. It provides centralized license management also. So basically, if we want to use analytics platform or cognitive platform or RPA platform, we need to register the user and allot the licenses to the user according to the roles that are given to the user. So if the user wants to use the analytics platform, then the analytics expert and the analytics consumer role has to be given, which is to be given through the web control room. If you want to give the license for development, then we need to give the license through the web control room while we are creating the users. There are two types of client that are provided by automation anywhere. One is the runtime client and one is the development client. So the runtime client helps in the execution of the software bot. So whenever we are scheduling a task from the web control room, it will be scheduled on the runtime client, which is specifically created for the execution of the software bot. The bots cannot be modified or created on the runtime client. For development of the software bot, we have the development client, that is the bot creator, which helps in creating the software bot by using the Metabot or IQ bots or RPA platform task editors and the recorders. So this was about the architecture and the components of automation anywhere. Just give me a minute, please. Next, we had gone through the various task commands that are there, the recorders, the metabots. So, as we know, there are certain dedicated commands for specific applications like Excel, PDF, OCR, image recognition, then XML, terminal emulators for mainframes. So, we can use these dedicated commands to automate the given business process. As we know, in the metabots, we had seen the two scenarios in which we had tried to automate a given set of application business process, and we had also incorporated the SAP DLL inside the metabot in order to automate the business process in the SAP environment. So basically, whoever is the user who is going to develop the software bots need to be well versed with the taskbot command library and the metabot for development of the software robot. We had also gone through the infrastructure requirement of the automation anywhere, where we understood the hardware and the software requirements before the installation of automation anywhere software. There are two types of installations that is there. One is the express mode of installation and the other one is the custom mode. In the express mode, whatever by default settings are there, which are given by automation anywhere, will be installed. While in the custom mode, we can give the customized installation. For an example, if there is a pre-existing database in an organization and they want to link the existing database with the web control room of automation anywhere, we just need to give the database name and the username and password so that we can establish the link with the web control room. Then we understood the two different types of installation that are there. One is the standalone installation and the other one is the distributed installation. So in the standalone installation, all the components of the web control room are installed in the same machine. Even the automation anywhere client is installed on the same local machine. While in the distributed installation, the two components of the web control room, that is the application, GUI, and the shared data and services, are installed in two different machines. And the client is altogether on different machines. Right? So, whenever we are uh, giving the installation of high availability and disaster recovery, it is recommended that we have distributed installation of the web control room. Now, the concept of high availability means the server of automation anywhere needs to be operational, up and running at all times. So, in high availability, what we do is we provide n number of servers, minimum 5 servers, in which one is the load balancer, the three can be the servers, and the fifth component is, or the fifth machine is the shared area network, in which we store the data in a centralized location. So if my one server is down, I can readily divert my data into the second server, and without the interruption in the execution of the bot, it can be done. So basically, with the help of high availability, if at all there is some server issue, it can be resolved by diverting all the data to the second server that is there. The disaster recovery component is equally important, because let us take an example that there is a disaster, or the machine in which we are storing the data is facing some issues. So if our data is on shared network, we can access it from anywhere, and the data is retrievable. The high availability and the disaster recovery that we provide can it can be included in the already existing, the components of automation anywhere can be integrated in the already existing HA and DR. So if you want to set up your new HADR specifically for automation anywhere, then also it can be done. If you want to use the existing HA and DR, you can integrate the automation anywhere inside the existing one. As we know that automation anywhere web control room provides the credential vault, which can be considered as the centralized location for storing all the data, of all the credential data of the system or the organization. So this data that is there, it has to be very secured. So for the security of the data, we provide certain encryption algorithms. So these encryption algorithms are AES 256 algorithms that are there. Then we use RSA 2400 bit algorithm and SHA 256 algorithm. So whenever we are transferring the data through the network, if at all there is a possibility that the data be hacked, so we need to keep it secure. So this is the reason the encryption algorithms are provided. So all the security that is provided for the data that is stored in the Automation Anywhere software is FIPS compliant. So whatever data that we are entering is very much secure. Then we had understood the concept of POC that is there. POC is the proof of concept. So whenever we are taking an example from the sales perspective, we as a software company are selling our product, which is RPA product, which helps in automating the business processes. Being a salesperson, taking an example that if I am a salesperson and I state that we are the best software in the market and we can automate the business processes in one go, it is very easy to use, a non-technical person can also use it, right? I'm just telling the stories. I need to prove my story also. To prove my story or theory, I need to show the proof. I need to show the proof of concept in which we will be developing a software bot according to the company's or organization or the client's requirement, just for demonstration, to convince them that yes, this is the product which will ease out or solve all my problems. So this is what we do in the POC. Now there are two types of POCs that are there. One is the online POC and the other one is the offline or on-site POC. The online POC can be done using the remote desktop. So for that, we had seen a certain POC checklist, which had certain access related questions, functional related questions, questions related to the environment, questions related to installation, username, credentials, and passwords. So whenever we are doing a POC, we need to check whether the systems of on which we are going to create the software bot are compatible or not. So we will be sharing the checklist with you just for reference purposes. Then we understood the concept of deployment and the testing life cycle that is there, the development life cycle that is there. We understood the concept of attended and non-attended automation. In the attended automation, basically, the human intervention is required. Taking an example that you have created a software bot, in between, you have shown the message boxes for the user or the person who is going to monitor the business process, whether it is executing correctly or not. So, whenever the human is present to keep a check or monitor the business process execution, it can be considered as attended automation. If we are automating a business process end to end without any human intervention required, it will be considered as non attended automation. We also understood the concept of complete and partial automation. So basically, the complete automation can be considered as non-attended automation, where the human intervention is not required. We are automating the business process end to end. There is no judgment call required from the user. There is no input that is required from the user. It is a complete set of repetitive tasks. In case of partial automation, taking the process in example of loan sanctioning. So let us take an example of loan sanctions. So in that, there is a process which is to be done before we sanction the loans, and after the sanctioning of the loan, this process can be automated. Like, first and foremost, we need to keep a check whether all the accounts are good, whether the credit history of the user is good or not, whether the CIBIL score is above 700 or not, right? So all these steps can be automated. Once there is a generic report generated for the user, the human needs to analyze that report and then sanction the loan. So basically, the user needs to say yes or no for sanctioning of the loan. Once the loan has been sanctioned by the user, there is another set of steps that can be automated. So this intervention of the human for giving the loan can be considered as a partial automation. Partial automation and the attended automation can be considered as the same thing. So guys, any questions, any doubts? Any questions, any doubts related to whatever we have done in the last 6 sessions? Yes, definitely. If the logics are predefined, if there are certain set of business rules that are given to the developer beforehand, before starting the development of the bot, it is a very simple process then. So basically, in bot farm, as asked by Ravindran, so basically in bot farms, what we do is we enable the organizations to create, deploy, and manage thousands of digital workers or bots as per the requirement. So, taking an example, this may be considered as a hypothetical example that I may be giving. It may be there or it may not be there. Definitely, Ravindran, as you have stated it correctly, bot farm is basically for seasonal peak volumes. I was going to say the same thing. So, taking an example that in March, lot of companies files the income tax return as it is the end of the fiscal year in Indian constitution, right? So, in that case, what happens is during February to March or from March 1st to March 31st, the income tax department gets lots of returns filed. So they need time or they need manpower to process these ITRs. So in that case, if they have automated the process once, which is being executed all over the year, in that particular period of month from March 1st to March 31st, what they can do is they can deploy the tasks into the bot farm on the virtual machines on the cloud to be executed and give the required output. So once it is executed on the virtual machines, we can utilize the output that is generated as per our requirement. So the income tax department do not need to hire new employees or maintain the employees for that particular business process of processing the ITRs. It is definitely pay as you use. So if you are executing the bot for 5 hours, you need to pay for 5 hours only. So Ravindran, I hope you get my point. So as we know, we always use the input files shared, which is stored in a shared location. So basically, the bot remains the same. Whatever applications that are used for automation of that business process, which is to be implemented on the cloud in the virtual machine, we basically create the images which is sent to the virtual machine, and these are basically the replications. So with the help of these replications, we can automate the business process on the virtual machines. I hope it answers your question. Mukesh, can I unmute you so that you can just elaborate your question for me to understand? Hello, Mukesh, are you there? Mukesh, are you there? Okay. So guys, what we can do is we'll be taking a short 5-10 minutes break, and we will start with the process prioritization and its understanding how we use it in performing the analysis. Thank you. Okay, there is one question from Victor which I would like to answer before taking the break. So the question is, if the automation involves login in a system like SAP, Does it require to create new users for virtual machines to work? No, we can use the existing users for this app environment that are already there, and these credentials can be stored in the credential vault if you do not want to share these credentials also. I hope it answers your question. So, see you after 10 minutes, guys. Thank you. Hello, guys, am I audible? Okay, thank you. I hope my screen is visible as well. Yeah. So, after the quick revision of the sessions that we have done, we will understand the process flow, which is there for performing the basic evaluation on the business process before we start with the development, right? So, first and foremost, as you can see in this process flow diagram over here, that is, first and foremost, we need to prioritize the processes which can be automated. Once we have identified the processes that can be automated, it goes into the automation pipeline. For each process that is in the pipeline, the feasibility analysis and the complexity analysis are done. First, we perform the feasibility analysis. If the feasibility analysis is passed, then we perform the thorough complexity analysis before we start with the development effort estimate. After performing the feasibility analysis and complexity analysis, we perform the basic ROI analysis. If it is approved, we start with the installation of AA and the basic software installations for the given business process, and evaluation of the design, the solution design, and everything is done. After all these phases, we begin with the development of the software bot. So, for today's session, we will be covering up the topic of process prioritization, which includes various components, and we will see how we can prioritize the processes. So, first and foremost, to understand the process prioritization, it has two components as of now. One is the benefit analysis, and then is the candidate prioritization, after which it goes into the automation pipeline. So, basically, it identifies which process can be automated and which process cannot be automated. The first and foremost thing that is to be kept in mind before we start the analysis of process prioritization are certain points which are to be kept in mind. The first point is how many manual hours are saved annually if the process is automated. So, if a full time employee is performing the particular business process, what is the time it is taken by the full time employee to complete the business process? And if we automate the process, how many manual hours will be saved annually? So, this is the basic comparison which is to be done, which makes us understand whether our overhead costs are reducing or not, whether the business is growing without increasing the headcount. Are we freeing the employees to innovate and focus on value added tasks after automating the process and saving the manual hours annually? So basically, our focus should be to increase the business mobility and scalability. The second business priority to be kept in mind is the error reduction. So, after automating the process, is the data that we are receiving after completion of the automated process, is it reducing the errors? Is it more accurate? Whether the variance is reduced or not, whether there is improvement in the business workflow, or confidence improvement in the employee. So basically, the business intelligence and agility should be increased. At this particular stage, we can take the approximate value that if a full-time employee is completing the business process in supposedly 3 hours, then definitely if we are automating the process, it will